Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Let's let the gospel lead our session today, okay? Obviously, something big is happening. Obviously, we have a big lesson today. Let's read the Holy Gospel. And I'm going to paraphrase so that we can move through it. But the gospel is from St. Matthew, and it's the parable of the talents. The Lord said this parable. A man was going on a journey, and he called his servants, and he entrusted to them his property. Now, in this story, he gives one of the servants 5 talents, one of the servants 2 talents, and one of the servants 1 talent. And then he goes away. And when he comes back, he goes back to those servants. And he asks the man that gave him 5 talents, where is the money that I gave you? And the man says, I invested it, and I got 5 talents more, so here's 10 talents. And then he said to the man who gave 3 talents, where's my money? And the man said, I also invested it. And he gave him 3 talents plus 3 talents, which is 6 talents. But the man that got 1 talent, he took it and he buried it. And when the master came back, he took that talent up out of the ground and he gave it back to him. And he said, here, have what is yours. And the Lord clearly is looking for us to do more with our talents. So today's question, today's homily is, what does your talent look like? What does your fruit look like? And I'd like to start that journey with a story. The story of this tree right here. When Father Alexei was in Constantinople 6 years ago, actually 7 years ago, I was right next to the church of Hagia Sophia. If you don't know what that church is, it's the first major large Christian church in Constantinople. And I was walking down the street, and I saw a nugget of gold on the ground. Shiny gold right on the ground. And I thought, well, I'm in Constantinople, anything can happen. So I bent down, I picked it up, and I looked at it, and it was a seed. It was a seed for a tree. And I didn't think much about it, but I put it in my pocket and went on with the day's events. And 6 years ago, on June 1st, when I first started here at St. Nicholas, I came in and I was unloading all of my things in my new desk. And I found this seed. And I put it in a little cup of water, and this is that seed. For 6 years, this plant has basically grown itself because I don't have a green thumb. All I did was put it in dirt, put it in a window, and give it water every other week. Like a half a gallon every other week. It's the happiest plant that I've ever had. And look how tall it's grown. Now it touches the ceiling. But there's a problem because I figured out what this plant is. It's a fruit tree. It's called muzmulyan, the kind of fruit that it makes, loquats. But it's been 6 years, and I have not gotten any fruit. And I think this is the perfect metaphor for what we're going to be called to in stewardship this year. This year, our stewardship committee is going to be refocusing on the meaning of stewardship, because growth is not the only indication of stewardship. Financial well-being is not the only indication of how good a church is doing. We need to focus on the fruit. What good is a tree if it's not bearing fruit? If I wanted a piece of decoration, it would be just fine. But I want for this tree to reach the potential, the purpose for which God created it, and that is to bear fruit. And we, likewise, must also bear fruit. So there's two kinds of fruits that if we are good stewards of this church, we will see. They are tangible and intangible fruits. The tangible fruits of stewardship are what we expect to hear from the priest. If we only gave more money, then we wouldn't have to have a festival. It's true, but it's not the focal point. The other tangible things, well, if we didn't have to have a festival, all that money could go towards scholarships. We could send our kids to camp for free. We could build a gym. We could buy the whole block. We could do all these things. Again, this is thinking about it in the reverse order. We need to think about the spiritual fruits and the cultivation of the tree in order to have the physical fruits born, right? So I'm starting this process, and I'm going to take this seriously. I'm going to try and figure out what I need to do to help this tree fruit. It seems perfectly healthy to me. So what does it need? Does it need to be pruned? Does it need some more nutrients? Do I need to have another tree like it so it can cross-pollinate? I'm going to do the research. And so are we. Not about trees, but about stewardship. So this year we're going to focus on three important aspects of stewardship. The first is how personal it is that we belong to a church. We're going to do a little bit more testimonies of people coming up and sharing their experiences, specifically people who have been really touched by the church. We are going to be educating and focusing on the difference between stewardship and dues. And we're going to be hearing about it more. We're going to be preaching more on how to cultivate these gifts. So now that we talked about kind of, I would say, the less important things, let's talk about the really important thing, which is what would it look like if we aligned our will with Christ and as a parish became really good stewards of His Word? Spiritually, what would the fruit be? So, I thought what better a place to look than the liturgy of St. Basil. There's a prayer in the liturgy of St. Basil that you don't hear because it's 6 pages long and the priest reads it silently during one of the hymns. But there's a sequence of requests, petitions in here that for me as a priest pretty much define why it is that I bound myself to the church. Because this is what I seek, not only for me but for all of us. We read, "Remember, Lord, the people here present and those who are absent with good cause. Have mercy on them and on us according to your great mercy. Fill their houses with every good thing. Preserve their marriages in peace and harmony. Nurture the infants. Instruct the youth. Strengthen the aged. Give courage to the faint-hearted. Reunite those separated. Bring back those in error and unite them to your holy Catholic and Apostolic Church. Free those who are held in captivity by unclean spirits. Sail with those who sail. Travel with those who travel. Defend the widows. Protect the orphans. Liberate the captives. Heal the sick. Remember, Lord, those who are in the mines, in exile, in harsh labor, and those in every kind of affliction, necessity, or distress, those who entreat your loving kindness." I mean, it doesn't get any more specific than that. We need God in our lives so that when we struggle, we have Him as our bedrock. So that instead of having anxiety about everything that's going on, we can take a deep breath. We can allow our bodies and our physical reactions to subside, and we can have real faith, real trust. Because the truth is, this life is difficult. And the fruit of uniting ourselves to Christ, the spiritual fruit, that we find peace. That we're comfortable in our lives, dealing with the struggles that we've been given, and are able to turn towards Him in those moments. So I love this metaphor, and we're going to be working on this metaphor throughout this year. But I just wanted to begin, and for the kids this was the perfect way to begin, because it really emphasizes to them the journey of a fruit tree that looks like it's doing just fine, you know? This is the question we're going to ask ourselves this year. What is my fruit going to look like? And I close the children's sermon by asking them, what do you want to be when you grow up? How do you want to allow yourself to develop? And I want to ask you to think about the same question spiritually. What kind of spiritual fruits do you seek? We're all here because we seek something. What are we seeking? And let's try and align our will with God's and use the gifts that He's given us through the church to find the answer to that. So it's not about money, it's all about participation. And hopefully next time we talk, I'll have figured out something about how this tree can fruit. And if I ever bear fruit with this tree, trust me, you will be able to taste it. Because this is a community effort. So, in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.